What's up guys? We're back in the kitchen today making another coffee recipe. This time it's a coffee cocktail. One of my favorite ways to drink coffee. This is the Irish coffee. Stick around. Fellas, welcome back. It's Robert, your everyday gentleman. Okay, so like I said, we're in the kitchen. I'm gonna show you guys how I make an Irish coffee. Now typically I like drinking coffee, but when I do, I drink it black. I'm not really into having too much sweetener or anything in it. Now an Irish coffee does have sugar in it, but because of the whiskey and you put some creamer in it as well, it kind of balances things out so it's not too sweet of a drink. It just kind of, they all complement each other. It's a really good drink. It's typically drank on St. Patrick's Day. My understanding is like around Christmas time, things like that. But honestly, you don't need to be Irish. It doesn't need to be St. Patrick's Day. Anytime is a good time for an Irish coffee. My wife and I actually just finished having dinner. We're planning to go outside and have a smoke now, and we're gonna complement that with an Irish coffee. So we're about to get into it. But before we get into the actual recipe, if you enjoy things like whiskey cocktails, but also things like fragrance, grooming, fitness, cigars, and other topics for the everyday man, then this might be the place for you. Consider subscribing and joining the growing EG family. And if you're already a member, I wanna thank you for your continued support. And without further delay, let's jump into it. All right, so let's get into the list of items that you're gonna need. It's not too long of a list. Up first, you're gonna need your coffee mug. These clear mugs are usually the best way to go to get the best presentation. Then you're gonna need your coffee, your whiskey, Irish preferably, your brown sugar, your whipping cream, and then your mixing utensils, shaker, jigger, and bar spoon. First thing you want to do, obviously, is brew your coffee. Whatever coffee you brew, however you like to do it. I like a nice dark roast. Now, I didn't include this on the list, but this is an option. You can warm up some water so that you can put that in the cup before you make the drink so that it actually warms that cup up, helps the drink stay warm longer. Now, like I mentioned, all you're really gonna do is just let it sit in the cup, let it warm it up, and then you're gonna dump it out. Now, after you dump out the water, what you're gonna wanna do is put the sugar in. I use 2 chunks, which is essentially 2 cubes or 2 teaspoons of the sugar. The next thing that we're gonna do is add the coffee, about 5 ounces. Now, some people do actually like to add the whiskey first before the coffee, but I do the coffee. I think it helps to just dissolve that sugar a little bit easier. Now take that bar spoon and start mixing it up so you help that sugar dissolve. Up next is the best step, adding your whiskey. Now you can really use any whiskey you prefer, but if you want to stay authentic to the recipe, it's an Irish coffee obviously, you want to use an Irish whiskey. But any Irish whiskey you want is good. This time we're using Redbreast 12. And I'm adding 1.5 ounces. And stir this up again a little bit. Now next we're going to grab the shaker and we're actually going to use this to kind of whip up the heavy cream that's going to go on top of the coffee. So you basically take your shaker and you take some cream, however much you're going to need for really however much you want to put on top of the coffee. And I pour in a pretty hefty amount, making 2 here. So I'm pouring a pretty good amount into the shaker, and then you're going to want to cover that up and shake it for a good 20 to 25 seconds. You don't want to shake it up too much. You don't want it to be too thick, but those 20-25 seconds should be enough to get a good thickness to go on top and sit nicely on your coffee. Now for this next step, you're gonna kind of want to finesse this a little bit. You take the back of your bar spoon and then you're gonna pour that whipped cream on the back of it so it just kind of lands on top of the coffee and just sits there nicely making like a head that you would see on a Guinness. So these drinks are pretty much ready now. If you want to get fancy, you can also sprinkle some nutmeg on top of the cream. Otherwise, you can have it this way. These are ready to go. I just really enjoy an Irish coffee. It's perfect when you're hanging out on a nice evening like we're doing tonight, having a smoke, and just hanging out and enjoying each other's company. Now that pretty much wraps up the recipe. Remember, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you catch all future videos. And remember, being a gentleman is an everyday thing. Cheers, fellas.